welcome everyone. My name is Neena, and I'm going to present our second episode of our podcast from Comms Credible. It's called Credible Talks, and Credible Talks. We do it fortnightly, and today we have Megha Monga, and I would like to first introduce our Comms Credible. It's an integrated communication consultancy, and we are currently working with a lot of startups and venture capital firms and early stage startups as well, who belong to they are in US and Europe and everywhere. So it's an interesting journey that we have just started, and we thought we'll start with podcast and speak to a lot of journalists and understand what it means for them to be in their in your job. And I would also like to tell our audience that they can keep asking a lot of questions whenever they feel the discussion will be going on. So we have already a lot of questions with us, but in case if you feel, you please drop your question in the comment box. And now I would like to introduce Megha Monga, and she's
Hi,
a
Neena.
lifestyle technology journalist. Hi, Megha. She has worked with a lot of reputed brands like Stuff Magazine, OK, and she started her career with Hindustan Times. And she has been a very terrific journalist, and she's very has a very stunning career as a lifestyle journalist. And she's been a feature writer and has covered a lot of sectors, as a lot of streams inside the lifestyle, be it celebrity, brand launch, and now she is in the personal tech as well. So she does a lot of tech,
Reviews.
yeah, tech reviews. So we welcome you, Megha, and
Thank you, Neena.
we were really excited for this podcast.
And I was really nervous, like I told you.
Yeah. So our topic of discussion for today is struggles and pressures of a lifestyle journalist. And I would request all our viewers, as I said earlier, also please share your questions. And we would like to take up for the first question, like now the obvious thing, that why lifestyle? And please take us through your journey, and also give us a little bit idea about your routine, like how do you start?
So I started my career with Hindustan Times. I am born and brought up in Delhi. And when I moved to Bombay with my first job with Hindustan Times, I came here with the big dreams of every journalism graduate that says, I'm going to change the world. I want to do this and I want to do that. And when I was appointed on the metro team, in Mumbai, I realized that not knowing the language of the place where you're working is a major disadvantage. So I tried city reporting where the cops or anyone, any phone call requires you to speak in Marathi. I also covered the education beat, which went fine after a while. But initially, the struggle is that making people speak your language. You have to speak their language is a major problem when you're doing city beat or city reporting. Whereas lifestyle, you and I can communicate in Hindi and English. There's no, you may or may not know the local language. It's not a hindrance. Is which in a city beat, it's a major hindrance. Knowing the language of the land is a major hindrance. So that's how I went into the softer side of journalism, which was covering a little bit of events here and there. And then I moved to OK Magazine, which was primarily celebrity driven. So our highlight of the month used to be the big fashion shoots we used to do. Part of doing that was also covering events, which we didn't do it like a midday reporter does, for example. Not that hardcore, but it does help you get into the space and understand how lifestyle works and what all lifestyle is. And it's not all faff as some people believe it to be.
I'm sure. And how difficult it is, like when you segregate from the mainstream and from for lifestyle, like most of the people think that scams and political breakthroughs make news, and it's like hot stories. So how difficult it is to accept that kind of journalism without linking it to lifestyle. So
It's a very
just
blanket statement, I would say. Scams are everywhere. Scams are in banks, scams are in corporate, scams are in politics, and scams are in every sphere of life, right? So you can,
correct.
if you can have a big political scam, there are also people who can question the funding of a restaurant. There were people who can question, for example, a cricketer with questionable income. I'm just saying it's not being
Correct.
specific, but scams are everywhere. So it's just that we, as a culture of sensationalism, we have accepted, and that's why more and more is given to us. If there was no acceptance of sensationalism in the extent that it has been accepted, it wouldn't be of that much importance, right? So, but it's
Correct.
everywhere.
Yeah. So, talking about your journey as a lifestyle journalist, what was it like? It was your natural choice, or you like wanted to join this, stream, or it was like an accident? You started with, you said, city reporting and
Yes, it was an
education.
accident. So when I went to OK Magazine and I attended events and I got view of the good life. So it's a balance. You need to balance it out a lot, but it's also addictive. So once you get into lifestyle journalism, I think it would be hard to come back to a regular city desk and get back into city reporting. So it's a graph that takes you from one place to the other. It's where you want to take yourself with it.
Correct. So, in time and again, we've seen a lot of movies, I think Kareena Kapoor's Heroine and, fashion and pastry. Those, movies have actually depicted like what it goes into a lifestyle, journalist life. And do you really think that it truly depicts your, the demands of a lifestyle journalist and highlights your work ethics as per the, how they show in the film?
See, ethics are, I'd say they're two layered. One is what you're taught, what is ingrained into you, what your definition of ethics is, and the second is the kind of team you're working with, the kind of boss that ingrains that this is acceptable as work ethic and this is not, and this is what we refrain from doing. It shapes you as the person you are going to groom yourself into. Everyone comes into lifestyle journalism or any journalism as a fresher. It's how your seniors groom you and what they think is acceptable. Like in my example, we didn't think it was taboo. If it was work, if work demanded it, we would do it. For example, we were shooting with OK Magazine. Me and my editor were a strap team. We were just the two of us, and we were doing the whatever the job entailed. It wasn't like the editor will not do this and I will not do this as a junior. Like for example, in the middle of a shoot, if a spot boy of a very big name refused to carry shoes from the presidential suite to the place where we were shooting in the hotel, we would go and fetch the shoes. If the budget of the magazine entailed that we can't spend a certain amount on five-star food, so the spot boy is ordering uh, from the room's bar, but we would not do that. So ethics are very depending on what company you're keeping, what boss you have, and how they're shaping you to be. Sometimes what is okay to you may not be okay to a person, may not be some what's okay to somebody else is not okay to you because it doesn't agree with how you, the culture you have been brought up in, or the culture you that has shaped you while you were growing up.
Correct.
And as for me, lifestyle happening as as an accident, yes, because once you meet new people, once you see that side of things that exists, you try and appreciate it more. Culture is intrinsic to any society, so not knowing what's going on at NCPA, for example, is not okay, because you need to know as a entertainment is as important as politics is. Knowing what's going on in the movies is as important as politics is. Knowing what new places there are to eat is an important part of your cultural growth, you know. So
Correct.
new Japanese restaurant opening is more important then a new well, not more important, but it's important to know what's happening around your city, what's happening in your culture, what's happening in the place where because these things, exposure to these things will also shape a lot of other people, their thinking.
Correct. And you as a consumer, we consume so many things in a day. We
We
watch
consume so
movies.
many things, and
Good.
that's why lifestyle journalism is important, because people rely on stuff. For example, is a great gadget magazine that I have been recently working with for the past 3.5 years. So when a new gadget is launched, you should see the kind of messages we get asking that is it something we should put our money on? Is it something we should spend on? We want to buy something within this budget. That's because the people working there have established that kind of faith that, when it comes to buying a gadget, you can consult us and we'll give you right advice, whether it's 30,000 rupees well spent, it's 70,000 of your hard earned cash well spent. So a lot of credibility goes, which should not be dismissed. People are relying their important purchases based on what you're telling them. So, for example, a person says that, oh, you have such a fancy life, oh, the gadget tumko free mein mila hai. But that gadget was used at home. A lot of understanding of that gadget went into it, and then
Correct.
a very fair and balanced review has to be written, that this is what a gadget does, this is these are the pros and cons of having it, and this is whether it justifies the money you are going to spend on it or not, whether we have spent money on it or not, whether you spending money on it or not is justified or not. So it's a lot of responsibility in that sense.
I think it is more direct also, when
It's more direct, it's engaging.
very direct. Yeah. So coming to another question that, another, like, this is something related to your, our life, everyone, how do you balance your, life and work? So this question came from one of my ex-colleague Imtiaz from Jimisha Communication. So he just wanted to know, how do you really balance? And I'm sure you are mother of two, and
I have been the perfect
how
example
do
of
you
what to learn
manage?
from me, because it's very difficult. You personally have to draw a line between how much you're willing to put in, what you're going to do. You need to learn to prioritize that. What is important for you to cover, what can be shared with somebody else, not delegated but shared for sure. How much time you're giving at work, you need to set a routine. Like, my routine has been fixed when school days were on. Right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, but when school was on, I'd be out of the house at quarter to 8, drop the kids and be in office by 9 o'clock. A lot of my job thankfully worked perfectly in tandem, but some jobs might not. So it's a hit and win, it's a hit and miss. It's some, you gain some, you lose some. I right now have not found myself back in the thick of things where I'm doing a job from 10 a.m. to say 10 p.m. But I think everyone has a personal journey which is different in each case. I think Akshay says he has a question from the audience.
Okay. So is there real rural penetration as well, besides being in metro cities, for lifestyle journalism? Do you see it improving in the near future? What are the challenges? So this question comes from the audience. Abhijit S. Warrior. Yeah, he's asking this
So
question.
Abhijit, although I'm not the expert in the matter that qualifies me to say whether it's seeped into the rural areas or not. I have grown up in a metro. I am working in a metro city, but I would definitely say that every space has an audience. So if there is a movie release happening in Mumbai which interests a more cosmopolitan audience, there would be some demand for something in a smaller space as well. Rural, I'm not sure. I don't know if there are any rural journalists covering grassroots levels lifestyle as such. What are the
But I think,
challenges? Improving
yeah,
in the near future? Yes, of course. If there is technology reaching rural areas, once they deal with grassroots problems on a grassroots level, once they can graduate to a lifestyle pertaining to lifestyle, conducive to lifestyle journalism, I'm sure there will be improvement.
And I think most of the regional papers, they do run certain
The
pages.
regional papers cover
Yeah.
lifestyle very well, but
They
that's not
cover
rural
movies.
then.
Yeah.
That's,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's again smaller cities. You can say tier B and tier C cities.
Correct.
That's not
But
what
yeah,
we call
correct.
rural.
So another thing I wanted to, like, I was reading something online and a lifestyle journalist had shared, like from her own experience, like how her job is considered as a fluffy stuff. So her friends will say, "Oh, you do such fluffy stuff. We are not interested. We do hardcore. So business and political news are the thing." So do you ever get judged by your own, circle of friends and people around? So have you ever like
Thankfully, not. The privileges, yes, people do point them in your face, but the judgment has been spared so far, thankfully. But I would say, like, let's have dignity of labor. If your job is important as a PR person, my job is equally important in getting the right information to you. If your job as a business reporter is black and white, I would say, I can also say that it's very easy. Your information is based on the PR releases that you get and a couple of phone calls that you make. A lot of journalists who are reporting on lifestyles cannot may not be as black or white, because for to write on a journalism feature for a coverage, a restaurant report, you have to have the skill to make people feel they are with you. You have to have writing skills that are good enough for people to buy something that you're endorsing, or you're saying that it's I'm giving it a 4-star review or a 5-star review, you go buy it. How do you tell them to buy it? By writing, by having the right skills to write well enough for people to take your word for it, consider you credible enough. I would say business and political journalism is very black and white, although and lifestyle is very colorful. So you have to add that color in people's life. You have to have that color in your writing, where you can make a joke and get away with it. You have to have that connect with the audience, where it shows you're well read. You can make that connect.
I'm sure. And what happens, people when they open a mainstream newspaper, the first thing is that they go to the supplements. So I
Well,
know I do
that's proof.
so often. So hence proved. So
You may
yeah,
have movement, but you have less audience space.
yeah. So the other thing was like how difficult you see this and the serious stuff
How difficult?
when how difficult it is, like when we compare, like when writing for a feature, like creatively, how difficult it is, and when we compare about the serious stuff.
Well, a serious report, news report, or even a featured serious feature can go and take a direction, premeditated direction. Whereas lifestyle gives you the freedom and the liberty to take it wherever you want. You may make a completely satirical piece out of it, or you may add humor to a smartphone review. That's totally up to you. It gives you a larger spectrum. It gives you more it gives you a broader bandwidth to work and creatively express yourself. Well, that creativity also has to come natively, and it can also be cultivated over time. But that's something, that's not a prerequisite of a business journalist, for example.
Yeah, sure. I think there are a lot of information which goes, and they do speak. A lot of dialogues happen within when they are doing a story. But as a lifestyle, I think journalists, they have to experience it. They do, uh, experience as a consumer how they will do it. So I think we have another question for you. This is from Palak Mehra. She is asking, considering the time we are living in, where minimalism is the new lifestyle, how do we create content around it?
Wow, communication is key. I'd only say that. The content you create, the audience you identify for yourself, and then you have to believe in minimalism yourself. If you are an OTT person, the content you create will show the disconnect you have, your personality vis-a-vis what you're portraying. So to firstly be in tandem with what you are putting out there, it has to agree with your basic personality as well, I would say. And create content that you relate to more than reaching out to someone. It's creating content that you relate to. Does that make sense?
I think makes a lot of sense. I'll in the meanwhile, I'll try to also highlight one of the poll that we did. We asked a very simple question: do you really consider lifestyle reporting as serious journalism? So in the last, I think you would also relate it to that, because it's been a while. It's more than a decade that we are in this field, and where people like 73% people said yes, and 23 said no, and 5 were not sure about the entire subject. So what do you like to say on this? Because still there are 23% who do not think this is like
I
serious
want to know
report.
what part of lifestyle journalism you don't consider people who have voted 23% would not have taken seriously. Do you not read a review before going out to a new restaurant? Do you not read a review before reading a new book, before watching a new movie, before buying a new gadget? So how is that not serious? You're basing your spends on somebody else's opinion, and you refuse to take that person seriously or their job seriously.
So
Even the people who are doing page three reporting are putting hours of their time out there. It's not easy attending parties back to back. I have never done that myself because I found it very difficult to be at every event every time at any time of the day. But the people who are doing there and people who find joy in doing that, it's equal hard work. You may be a person who works a bank job. You are putting your hours of work, so this should also be considered as uh, a dignified way of making a life, making money, making and giving information. There's a lot of credibility riding on your shoulders. So if you are a person who reads a review before taking an action or before basing your, whether it's a 2000 rupee lunch that you're doing, or whether it's a 1 lakh rupee phone you're buying, if you're basing your spends on somebody's opinion, then their job has to be taken seriously.
like we discussed, right? So it is again, it is very direct to a consumer. When they
It
go to
is.
a Zomato,
It is.
they'll definitely go and read the reviews for sure.
Yes.
So coming to there is another question coming. Vishakha Ranjan is asking, what should you do if a PR person approaches you and asks you a review a product? How can you judge if a product review is worthwhile or not? So again,
So,
would you like
Vishaka, to answer your question, first, the journalist that you're approaching, identify what area of expertise they belong to. So, if you're calling me at Stuff Magazine asking for a restaurant review, you have to first see, is there a space for it? Is there a smartphone would be a direct product for a person like me to review. An air purifier is a direct product for me to review, but asking me to come to a store launch and then do justice to it is very unfair. You invite me to a store launch in the capacity of a friend, I will definitely turn up. If you invite me in the capacity of a media influencer and say that we are okay if you cover it on your Instagram, it's perfectly fair. But you ask me to do a Fashion Week, for example, while I'm working with a gadget magazine, and you know that it's a very unfair approach as a PR person, because for me to say no, I become a bad one. But for me to say yes, I can't justify coverage. So it's a very it should be a fair approach. If I'm being fair and saying that okay, this product fits in my magazine, or the fits this or it fits the space that I am currently in, I can do justice to it. It's fair. But if you're asking me to make an exception and do something, then you should be accepting that this is what I can do. This is the limit of what I can do for you. And this is, beyond something that I can take a call on. In an auto magazine, you will not be covering a smartphone. In a same way, in a gadget magazine, I will not be covering the fashion week. So it has to be a little researched approach as well, because we do get calls where the weirdest things are asked of us.
Yeah. But when there are several brands in front of you, how do you like actually decide on which brand to take, or do you consider, you know, no,
There
judging
can
like,
be a
on
blanket
basis
of
of how like
so if there's a month where a lot of smartphones are releasing, then we take a call based on the price factor. So if there are a lot of mid-range, mid-segment phones launching, for example, then you decide that under 20,000 will be a shorter review. Below that
okay.
will only be a mention as a new launch. So those are things that come into play. So a product of a higher value would need more credibility, more space in a magazine, um, more of your interaction with the gadget, more of your interaction with whatever it is, the product in question. So higher ticket value is also higher responsibility in that sense.
Correct. So another question, I will just continue the discussion, and I would like, what for a newbie, like, what are the prospects of lifestyle journalist in India? So given the fact that pandemic is around, it's all already there, and how do they, what is the prospect for that in the coming future?
Well, in the current times, I suppose media is in a very transitional phase where prints are finding it difficult to survive, and websites. As a newbie, you're saying joining in these times, I think it's very difficult. But going forward, once you have an office space to go to, once you have a mentor to look forward to, a newbie in the right hands can go places for sure.
But there are brands also who are like, they've started doing things, and they've been launching new brands, and I'm sure a lot of budget will be coming soon. So I
Yes,
think there will
being
be a
at
lot
the
of
right place at the right time in the right hands, under
yeah,
the right guidance, I would say.
correct, makes a lot of difference then. So several, another question is like, from our communication. So a lot of media people have a transition to communication roles, and however there have been some kind of a reluctance to join PR agencies. So what do you attribute this reluctance to?
If you worked a certain number of years in as a journalist, and especially as a lifestyle journalist, you would know that we're a very pampered lot. So right from there are times that cabs are booked at your doorstep to covering an event to there are a lot of privileges being a journalist. You have the upper hand, whereas the communications is completely the other side of the fence. So when you're used to dictating whose call you're answering and whose call you're not answering, or what you're doing and what you're not doing, to reaching a point where you are on the end where you're calling people, maybe I think the reluctance comes from there, because from a place of being pampered to a place where uh, you're the one pursuing people. It could be that, but I also know a lot of journalists who have gone to the other side. Of course, the money is better, the hours are better. There's more you can do to a dedicated brand. And one more point, I think the reluctance is perhaps there because you're exposed to a plethora of brands as a journalist. You're not
Correct.
uh, you're not restricted to one segment, one place, or one thing at a time. Whereas a brand gives you, you have to be loyal to. I'm working with Apple. I only have to look at Apple. I only have to look at competition, and there's no exploring. Perhaps that's one of the things that could hold someone back, that your vision is limited to one brand.
Yeah, we on the other hand, we have to look after a lot of brands, and one and you'll be like handling education, the other and you might be handling a alcohol, or you know a lifestyle brand, anything. You might be selling mustard oil, but another time you'll be handling a corporate. So
Right.
so it's lot, you have to change your roles every day. So that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
a fact.
the other side of the fence entirely.
Yeah. So, like, what message you would really like to share, especially for the communication professionals, and especially how you approach a journalist? So, what should they do?
I think the one thing that bothers a lot of people that I have also spoken to is the fact that a lot of us get calls from journalists saying that, have you received the email? I just sent it. There are times that you don't even give the person to enough time to refresh the email, the inbox, and check. And the call comes before you can even refresh the inbox. So a little, your time is precious, so is ours. Anything of importance, your relationships are based on mutual love and trust. You can't do without us and we can't do without you. So it's an equal thing that you have the confidence that a person has received your emails. We're living in the digital age. Your email will be delivered in the right inboxes. And if it's relevant, they will call you back.
Okay. Would Yeah, yeah. Aman is asking a question for you. Like, you mentioned that lifestyle journalism happened to you. You didn't plan for the same. What genre you wanted to specialize in? Do you think of reinventing your career at times?
Hi, Aman. So yes, I did want to do a lot of city reporting, but like I told you, the perils of working as a journalist in a new city and wanting to do stuff on the city beat is not knowing the language. The major drawback was I did not know the language at the time that I came in, and new place, new everything, new people, new language. But I don't think I regret going in the direction I did. I loved my stint with OK Magazine. Every day used to be a new day. I was mentioning it to Neena that the highlight of our month used to be the big fashion shoots that we had. So we worked with not only celebrities, but a lot of reputed stylists, makeup artists, and photographers as well, which with time I thought was much appreciated. Yeah, I love the space I'm in. I love the kind of PR contacts and the PR friends I've made over the years. Would I want to reinvent my career? I would definitely want a job that pays better, but I'm quite happy.
I would again request all of yours, if you have any more questions, please do comment on the box. Anything, Megha, you would like to say apart from what we have discussed?
The only thing I want to say is that nothing should be dismissed. No choice of career should be dismissed. Even the people who are giving you inside news are inside because of the hard work they've done to be the insider. You and I cannot approach a newbie, for example, if they approach a person for gossip, will be banned from entering the next party. So people who are there, who are bringing you whatever kind of news, are there based on their relationships, based on their hard work, and hard work should not be dismissed.
Sure. Thanks, Megha. Like, it
Thank
was
you,
very
Neena.
interesting. It's really interesting to know another side as well, and what really it's a lot of hard work. I remember, I was part of one of like in 2012, I was part of this Jaipur Literature Fest. It's a very big literary
Right.
event. So have seen that behind the scene how journalists have actually been there really working hard. So there was a session of Oprah Winfrey, and I think everyone would like. I think the world had stopped that time when everyone will be watching that. But I saw a lot of journalists. Even if that show was going on, the talk was going on, they were lining up for the next. Even they do wanted to cover, so it is a profession. At the same time, they have to
It is a
cover
profession.
different
You may be
news.
attending the world's best concert, but you're not there to enjoy it. It's your job. You'll be lining up outside the green room, waiting for that person, whether they will or will not give the interview, whether your job depends on it or not, but it totally depends on somebody's mood.
Correct.
So yes, you do get the opportunity to attend a lot of things, but if a person refuses to give you that interview that you want, it's wasted effort. It's like you're neither here, you're at the green room and not. It happened with me once. It happened with me. So I went to the Sula festival, and one of the big artists was supposed to give me an interview who just refused. I did not go front towards the front to enjoy the concert. I was stuck at the back. I was not with my friends who were also there by coincidence. And what do you do? It's part of your job.
Yeah, a lot of funny instances happen. So that's the beauty of our profession. So every day is different,
Every day is
and
different.
likewise, yeah. But to be honest, like we really had a very nice session with you. Really, a
Thank you,
lot of
Neena.
things we covered, and really happy for your time you have given to us. And
Thanks for having me.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.